I think the internet is like electricity, that we can use it to keep newborn babies alive or we can use it to torture people. It doesn't have an inherent value. It is, however, a place where youth can be at risk. Adolescents experimenting with sexuality in online settings. This is adolescents doing absolutely appropriate developmental things. Deciding who they're going to be sexually, who they're going to engage with, how that's going to work in their life. But they have all this technology at their fingertips. So sometimes that means youth creating digital images of themselves and sending them off to their boyfriends. When I talk to teens, I say, you're creating child pornography. Do you know that? And they'll argue with me. And they'll say, not if it's of yourself. Yes, if it's of yourself. If you're under the age of 18 and you take sexually explicit images of yourself, you have created child pornography. And if you email it to someone, you have distributed child pornography. But young people don't see it that way. A case here, 2 15-year-olds were going out in Toronto. She broke up with him at 16. He wasn't really happy about it, so he took images that they'd taken while they were sexually involved and put them on a social networking site with their phone number. Made it sound like she'd have sex with whoever showed up. She left her community shamed. He was charged with distribution of child pornography. He was raised to adult court. He's on a sex offender registry for the rest of his life, and he's currently doing federal time in Mascouy Institution. I don't think either of those youth were served by our education system and were informed about the consequences of their behaviors. Because let's face it, in 1977 we had Polaroids. Maybe we threw our t-shirts over our heads and there was pictures. If my boyfriend breaks up with me, what's he going to do? Run it off on the Gestetner machine? Hand it out outside the cafeteria? Maybe. But those images would not be around today. The digital nature of these images has fundamentally changed them, and I don't believe that we've informed youth of the power of those images that they're making and of the future implications that they have. Network BC and TELUS have a project right now that are actually targeting isolated rural and First Nations communities. So they're pumping broadband access into communities that have previously had no access, but places as small as Bella Bella or Fort St. James are being provided with broadband access. And there have been reports from some of the hard target workers downtown working with sexually exploited youth that say that 3-4 months after broadband access was introduced in one fly-in only community, young people were actually showing up at the airport with prepaid tickets to fly to Vancouver to meet their new friend who had a model agency in downtown Vancouver and was going to take them to the P&E. These young people really aren't equipped with the knowledge or the experience to understand that there is no model agency and there is no return ticket. The school system and our government system has implemented filtering systems in our ministry offices and our schools. But as you can see, about 20 minutes on YouTube provides me with a nice little instructional video on how to bypass a school filter quite quickly. So filters stop adults from seeing what young people are doing online. They don't stop young people from engaging in those activities. We used to have the idea that internet predators trick their young people into meeting by posing as youth and then luring them to a settings. That hasn't been borne out by our statistics. They seduce victims into sexual relationships, and they are upfront about how old they are and what their intentions are. They take time to develop confidence and trust with their victims. And they target youth who have histories of sexual abuse, of violence in their families, or disenfranchisement. So the risk isn't equally distributed. These are the same young people who are at risk offline or the young people who are at risk online. So we don't, if we have a big panic that every child that goes online is going to meet a predator, it's really misplaced. What we need to do is start targeting those young people that we know engage in high-risk activities. And we do that at Solos often by doing workshops for people like yourself or people like social workers and youth workers who are already working with high-risk youth and hoping to encourage them to engage with youth in online settings and role model and watch over what's going on for young people there. What can we do about it? We need to be realistic about how we talk about it. Remember that internet predators target young people who are willing to talk about sex online. And if we can educate youth about that, we're going to cut down on a significant amount of risk right there. We need to remember that boys are at risk too. Actually, 25% of online victims are boys, predominantly those who are questioning sexuality or have sexual identity questions. We need to be clear and tell youth that using the internet, a webcam, or a cell phone to take sexual pictures of themselves is against the law. Think about what's happening online and begin to develop policies and procedures for your organizations that reflect the new reality for young people and the new ways that criminal behavior can occur.